Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. My name's Peter Scolari, and I'm delighted you've joined us for our webinar, How to Run a Strategic Planning Session for Your Business. We have people from all over Australia and even one firm from New Zealand on the line, which is great. So I'm looking forward to giving you some planning insights. Today is all about getting your head around in the right space and working out not only what you're going to achieve this year, but also how you're going to exceed it. So if you have any questions along the way, please use your webinar item there down the bottom right hand side. So we just have a look at that number on the screen there. Basically, you might be all wondering what that number is. Well, to put it in perspective, basically that number is the number of days that I have left and I plan to live to I'm 90 years of age. So basically at the moment I am putting a number there that allows me to understand that we're all in life for not that long a time. So if we want to achieve what we're going to achieve, then we need to start looking and being aware that we can't keep procrastinating. That's something that I just like to look at and keep in mind, and it reminds me that in order to get to where I want to get to, then that number is, believe it or not, reducing quite quickly. So every January I'll sit down and I'll revise my goals. Some of those will be to do with family, some of them with business, some of them charitable. But my question to you on the call today is basically, well, how did you go with your goals last year, and did you set them, and did you actually achieve any of those? In our day-to-day lives as owners of a business, then what we find quite regularly is that we're doing the day-to-day stuff. So we might be out seeing clients, customers, we might be doing proposals, we might be looking after staff, we might be doing quotes for jobs, training our team, any number of things. But what we should find is that if we have a clear vision of where we want to go, particularly with our business, then we need to relay what this vision is to our team. And what you'll find is that as we implement actions to create or make that vision happen, our status as leaders, I should say, will actually dramatically increase. Because at the end of the day, leaders act. So if you're in business at the moment and you think you have a plan but you're not quite sure, you haven't even relayed it to your team, then what you will find is that it is in fact harder to become a leader, and it's harder to actually get to where you want to go. This slide was actually was a slide that was used by Steve Jobs, and pretty much before you start any real planning, you need to have a very clear vision for success. You need to clearly define your vision so that your dreams can become realities, because basically at the end of the day, if you don't know where you want to end up and you're not clear about that, it's going to be very hard to reach it in the time frame desired, and you will find yourself just getting waylaid, doing the day-to-day stuff once again and not really getting where you want to go. So I suppose that raises the question, you need to understand or ask yourself, what is your version of success? For some people, it doesn't have to be about money, but whatever it is, at the end of the day, at the end of your working and family life, what you want to be able to do is, if someone were to ask you at the end of your, or near the end of your life, what was, did you achieve what you wanted to achieve, then you need to have some sort of measuring stick, I suppose, to say whether or not you have achieved what you wanted to. When we try and establish what success is, it typically means that we look at targets for a number of things. So that's work, health, career, friends, family, and time. They're usually the 6 things that usually build a structure around success. So one of the success formulas, I suppose, and this is very much one that I quite like, and it's one that I use. But again, you need to have your own. But in my version of success is doing say what you want, when you want, with whom you want, and in a manner you want. So I suppose, what does that mean to me? I suppose what I want, that's having choices for the type of work I'd like to do. When I want, that means picking the times that I'd like to do those things. With whom I want, the people I want around me, whether they be clients, customers, staff, friends, in a manner I want. I suppose that's pretty much the way we do things and what we'd like to do, and some of that could be relative to the amount of profitability or cash flow that we have. So, for some of us, the way we do those things does require different levels of income earning capacity, perhaps, and so that can be a little bit different for different people. For some of you on the call, you may have started the business from scratch, and some of you may have joined along the way. And when I say that, it's obviously if you've joined along the way, perhaps you started off as an employee, which is great, as part of the team, and then you may have actually joined as a director or principal business owner. So my question would be for those that whether you started the business from scratch or whether you joined, does the business today look how you envisaged it when you started? Or is it something completely different? So we talk about business by design is something which, in a perfect world, we would actually sit down and make sure we know where we want to take the business from the start. But typically, and I've been through this myself, most and a lot of business owners actually have what we call a business by default, whereby we understand we want to have a successful business, and we want to be obviously able to be profitable enough and generate enough cash flow to keep the business going, and to I suppose have enough to satisfy our personal and family lives. But at the end of the day, some of it has just been, look, let's just do as much as we can, as quickly as we can, as possibly as we can, and hopefully that will be enough. So some of the things, the areas which I'll go through, is about looking at your, business by design would be, what is your business life looking like? What are the numbers, the services that you offer, your culture, and your clients. So if I'm designing my business life, and some of the areas, before I go into any strategic plan, I need to have an understanding of what I would like personally, and and for some people that is delivering the number of days at work, or no more than X days per year. So quite possibly you've seen some people that want to work 5 days a week, which is fantastic. Others might say, look, I only want to work 4 days a week, and I want to have a Wednesday afternoon off for golf. Might be the business comp. Again, you need to have some sort of you should consider what that would look like. Even though perhaps in the initial stages you might feel that you need to be working at least 5 days a week, and for many of us that is the case. However, if you want to design a situation where you can get to working no more than X number of days per week or per year, then that needs to be taken into account. In terms of delivery days, what I'm talking about here is and the amount per day is perhaps if you're working in the business, how many dollars are you generating as part of that business, whether using your time to service your customers or clients, whether you're in a professional environment or in a sales environment. As an owner, where do you want the majority of your delivery days to be? Where is it going to be? In the immediate surroundings that you live? Is it going to be interstate? Is it going to be overseas, perhaps? But you should have some sort of an idea on where that location will be. What sort of client types do we be wanting to work with? We actually sat down and worked out where these people are, what they look like, and the type of client they are. How many number of weeks of real family holidays do we want to have? And when I say real family holidays, I mean, preferably not being on the phone doing emails and ringing every 5 minutes. Understand that occasionally that's not totally possible, but we need to have a goal. And then for some of us, we might want to, whether our spouses or partners, whether we want to have 2 or more, or a certain number of real holidays on our own per year, perhaps without the kids, maybe not. For some of us, we mightn't want to be necessarily running the business. The number of successful business owners perhaps don't do the running of the business on a day-to-day basis. Many do, but for some, they've actually planned so that eventually they wouldn't have to have as much, and that's much involvement, and that's exactly what they wanted. Typically, we'd recommend that you consider focusing on the 3 highest dollar productive activities only. And for example, that could be working with high-end clients only, perhaps nurturing clients by going and ringing them, going and seeing them, or any number of prospects that you'd like to do. And you might have a leadership function over the sales, performance, marketing, or new business. Pretty much that could be something that you're aspiring to. Naturally enough, we should design the numbers, and by designing the numbers, I'm talking about some of the areas such as, how revenue-wise, how big do we want our revenue to get? Is it 500,000? Is it a million? Is it 5 mil, 10 mil, 50 mil, or even 100 mil? But we need to have some sort of an idea on where we want to get to. Not necessarily straight in the short term, but certainly in the long term. And what level of profitability per director are we interested in? Again, this is purely up to yourselves when you're designing the numbers and your strategic planning. But it's no good having a plan if you say, well, look, I want to make 500,000 a year, but you've developed your plan so that you're only earning, say, 50,000 a year. For others, if you only want to earn the 50, 100,000, that's fine. However, when they say you start with the end in mind, then typically you would look at reasonable profit per owner and what you're trying to get to, and then you'll start to build a plan around those numbers. So, in terms of offices, how many offices do we want? Do we only want the one? Is that fine? Do we want offices elsewhere? And again, this comes down to perhaps a little bit of location, but not only where, but how many. If we look at our head count, and FTE stands for full-time equivalent, by the way. At the moment, are we happy with the amount of team members that we have, or do we want less, or how many do we need? And then are we looking at how many dollars per full-time equivalent in revenue that we're actually that we're grossing? Do we keep an eye on that number and set it? In terms of director productivity, that pretty much relates to how much time we're actually spending doing the work for and working in the business, I suppose, to a large extent. Is it 80%, 60%, 40%, or not at all? Generally, you should leave some time available to actually work on the business each day, preferably, and also to do other things such as prospecting new business, or a bit of strategic planning and making sure that things are getting done. Typically, owners that work 100% of the time on the business, in the business, that don't do any of the other stuff, they tend to not really achieve the goals or the plans that they've set. And that might be a little bit of a generalisation, but they aren't actually stopping and taking the time to actually, grow the business if that's what they want to do, but check that the plan that they're working on and working towards is in fact being achieved. Some of the members on the call today are in fact engineering clients and professional service firms, so you might have an average hourly rate that you might set for the number of hours charged during the year by yourselves and the team, and then work out, divide the total revenue dollars divided by the number of hours worked. Is it $200 an hour, or is it more than that? In terms of client numbers, and have we considered how many customers we do have at the moment? Do we need less? Are we happy with the same, or do we want more? Obviously, if we want more, we've got to find ways to get more. If we've got the same, we've got to make sure that, and we want to keep the same, that we're actually keeping them happy. And if we want less, that could quite possibly be due to the fact that we've got clients or customers that just are costing us money at the end of the day. So we might need to make some decisions there. Most strategic planning sessions that I've run with our clients are typically looking for more. So we build our actions around in order to help achieve that. In terms of analysing our customers and clients, what is the average sale fee? It's a good thing to have an idea on what those numbers are. It could be $500 if you're in retail. It could be any other number depending on what sort of business you're in. But we would typically measure that, and then we would work some plans around about how we can actually get those average fees, sales up to a higher amount in order to hit the numbers that we need to. How many transactions a year do we have with our customers and clients? Do we know that? If we don't, I suggest that we do, because that does come back to actually building around the different ways that we can actually increase our revenue or maintain it. And then finally, do we have an idea on what our personal wealth might be upon selling? Yes, it's a bit subjective, but typically if we want a larger number, and we need to first of all understand what our business is worth at the moment and get an understanding of that, and then work out if our business is going to be part of our retirement plans. Then we need to understand how we can improve the value of the business and get it to where we need it to be in order to live the standard of retirement that we have. So, and part of that is also succession planning. So have we actually thought about how we're going to get out? But in terms of the numbers themselves, we need to understand our business value as of today and how we're going to get it to what we need it to reach our desired level of personal wealth upon selling. In terms of KPIs, productivity and profit numbers, there's some of the KPI objectives we'd set with our clients. We'd look at, we'd do a now and a 12-month goal. So we would look at the number of new clients and customers per month that we're getting at the moment and what we'd like to get that to. Retention rate, that's keeping an eye on how many existing clients and customers are we keeping, or how many are we losing. Obviously, if that retention rate is dropping, then we need to understand the reasons for that. If it's to do with bad customer service, then we need to address it. If it's to do with where we need to improve the retention rate in order to get the numbers right, then obviously we need to do some training and also understand how we can actually improve that rate. Again, average sales value. What is the conversion rate for new clients? So we're keeping an eye on where we've had meetings with prospects, and this goes with sales teams as well, whether it's in stores or professional service firms, etc. But are we keeping an idea on how many we are converting? If we're not getting the conversion rate that we want to achieve, then we need to find out. Again, we need to find out why. Is it because we're not offering enough service? Are our prices too dear, or are we not communicating the value? What is our gross profit percentage now, and what do we need to get it to in the future? Obviously, that can have a huge impact on the bottom line. How many times are we visiting our clients and customers or meeting with them each year? That will come back to the level of serviceability, and also making sure that if we want to get more services, offer more services to our clients and assist them, then we should be measuring those sorts of things. What is our allowable acquisition cost of getting a new client? Have we actually ever sat down and worked that out now, and what we'd like it to be? And what's the lead cost of getting a new client as well? That comes back down to your marketing budget. And again, having a marketing plan, and certainly once you've worked out some of these things, you really should set some sort of a marketing plan and a marketing calendar, and make sure that you plan it out and stick to it. How many number of leads are we getting currently at the month, and how many per month do we actually need to hit our target? for professional service firms, it might be an average hourly rate for all hours, full-time equivalent, and what are what we call lock-up days. So if we have work in progress or inventory, if we're selling widgets, and what are our debtor days? How long is it typically for us to get paid? Is it 30 days? Is it 60 days? And what do we want it to be in order to hit the cash flow that we require? So I've just got a bit of a snapshot of a sample tool there. Again, this was one that we set up for an engineering client that we did. We do have these for all other types of businesses, which we do, and we work with our clients. Once we've worked out some of the KPIs, we actually put them into our monitoring system, and then either monthly or quarterly we will actually keep an eye on the results. We'll put them in, we'll have a discussion and see how the clients are going with those. So these are the sorts of things that you might consider either putting in for yourself or getting help to do. But there should be some sort of simple dashboard system that allows you to measure and monitor your KPIs so that you can hit your goals at the end of the day, which is all part of your strategic planning. In terms of, again, this is perhaps a little bit to do more with the numbers as well, but in terms of, we are big on a system called three-way budgets, which is pretty much a profit and loss budget, a cash flow projection budget, and a balance sheet budget, which all tie in together. So when we have a planning session, what we will do is we will actually sit down with the client and find out how far they want to achieve, and this is what we'd recommend you do as a minimum, even amongst yourselves. You need to do more than just a profit and loss budget, because at the end of the day you can in fact go broke making a profit, believe it or not. And it could be for a number of different reasons. You're not collecting your monies quickly enough, particularly if you're growing, but you also want to make sure that you have enough cash flow in order to meet your plans. When you do an actual cash flow projection, which is the second part of a three-way budget, it takes into account things such as dividends and drawings, capital purchases, loan repayments, GST, income tax, time to get monies paid from customers, clients, stock turnover, work in progress, supplier payments, and any other non-P&L items that affect cash flow. So when you are working out what your profit and loss budget is for the next, say, 12 months or over 3 years, you need to make sure that you're also taking into account how much cash that will generate, how much money will actually come in, and how much will go out, because a lot of these other things do not hit your profit and loss budget, so you need to understand that. And the third part of a three-way budget is a balance sheet, which will actually tie in with the P&L and cash flow budget. So all of these three items actually talk to one another. When you actually set these numbers, you should actually be planning strategies around to hit them. And typically, if you want to actually hit a target, don't just say, well, we'll just add 10% on last year and everything should be okay. If you want to actually do better than 10%, you need to have strategies around your three-way budget, and make sure that, if it is growing the business in terms of revenue, what are the things that we need to start doing to make that happen. Once you have all this set up, you've done this process, you should then put these items into your accounting system, whether it be MYOB Live or Xero. Some of these cloud programs that are actually now set up. You should use these items, put them in so that on a monthly basis as a minimum you can sit down and print off the reports and see how you're going, and see if you're in line with your plan. And if you're not, what are the reasons for the variances, and what do you need to do to pick those up. Another important part of any strategic plan is designing your services. So, understanding what sort of services that you want to offer. There are, if you looked at what you're currently offering, are there some services there that are on the way out perhaps? Are they the same as some of your competitors, or can you do something a little bit different? Do you need to be working on services that in an area and you're marketing towards more profitable services? Is there demand for services that you don't offer? What evidence do you have that there is a need for the services that you either have currently or what you hope to offer? You need to actually do some research on that. and then how will these be costed and slash charged. Very important is it part of any part of a strategic plan is understanding whether or not you have a competitive advantage, and that means do you have something that sets you apart from your competitors? Because if you don't, the reality is that ultimately you're probably going to be dictated from what you can sell your services and prices, or services and products by your price, and that can be quite dangerous. In terms of services, do we want to specialise? Do we want to actually specialise in a certain area? Obviously, you need to be careful that whatever you decide in those services, that they are going to be around for quite a while, and that maybe technology or other forces might take those away. And then finally, how are we going to market these services that we've decided we're going to do, and what is the budget for that? Again, business by design, you should be looking at your culture. So typically you'll find that within your business you will have what we call finders, people that actually go out and get the work, minders that actually keep the business there, and then grinders, and that is actually doing the work. In terms of attitude of our team, is it have we had a look at that? Is it at the moment, is it positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral? Or is it miserable? Obviously, if it's negative or it's miserable, I suggest that we need to find out and do something about that. Who are our partners in terms of growing the business, in terms of alliance, the other alliances out there? What are our performance standards and values? So, when I talk about culture, it is what we stand for, what we want our business to be known for. Have we actually sat down and worked those out? Have we looked at our office layout and environment? Is it conducive to efficient execution of what our team needs to do? Are we offering our team benefits and perks? Are there things that we could be doing better, or incentives to actually get them to go harder? Are we a business that is being reactive or proactive? Typically a business that is reactive is perhaps flatlining. It will struggle to grow, whereas a proactive business and has a culture of being proactive will actually grow more quickly, and it will also tend to be here longer in the short to medium to long term. So, in terms of culture of being a leader or follower, I've mentioned that on the second slide, but do we have a culture of being a leader, or do we just follow everybody else? And finally, with our culture, do we set rules and make them very clear, so that rules not only for our team members but for ourselves, and also people that we do business with. Again, any strategic plan, you need to understand where our target market is, and you need to do a little bit of work there, otherwise it could just end up costing you a fortune in marketing and you'll be all over the shop. So, you might want to consider when you're doing your planning, do you want to get into any niche markets, or are you just going to take all? There's no right or wrong answer there, but you need to consider it. When you take on a new customer, is there potential in their business that they will grow with you, or are we taking on a customer that might not necessarily be conducive to us growing the business as well? You might have a decision that you don't want any startups. If they want to do work with you, that's okay, but other businesses would say that, well, no, we will take startups because they can actually grow and we can grow with them. That's fine. Do you look at their current size? So it could be, if you're marketing, if you're selling business to business, what is the size of those? Do they have a minimum number of employees, such as 5 employees, minimum level of turnover? Again, no right or wrong answer. Are we only going to take what we call a class customer on only? So you need to actually work out, if you looked at your existing customer base, go down, or first of all, rate what would you work out what would be an A class, B class, C class, maybe D class client, list that down, and then go back and rate your customers and clients and work out which ones are A's, etc. That then gives you the ability then to decide, well, where are you going to find more of the A class clients, and perhaps you might even decide that you might need to let some of the D ones go. In terms of other people we're targeting, is it a business owner, is it corporate, or is it a government department, or is it all three? Do we like our clients? Sometimes we take perhaps customers or clients on that really we just know we're not going to get on with. So do we have a situation where we can actually make sure that we actually like our clients? And finally, as I said, we might need to let some people go. Now, getting on to one-page strategic plans. This is something we've done now for ourselves for well over 12 months, and I've got to say it has worked spectacularly well for our business. It has been not like a 40 or 50 page document, which they can have their place as well, but by having a one-page strategic plan and designing it and putting having a business by design and putting those things in all on an A3 page that we can easily refer to and carry around with us if we're travelling, etc., then that has been a really useful tool for us. So typically a one-page strategic plan will look at things like your core values and beliefs, what you actually believe in respect of your business and what values you want your business to have. You will also look at what is your purpose, what is your why. A lot of people will, if you're passionate about something and what you do and what you're trying to achieve, then you will find, and once you've worked that out, you will find that it is more likely that people will buy from you once you've clearly defined as to why you're in business. And again, it shouldn't really be just about the money. For some people that might be, but what is it that really gets you going? What is it that really drives you? So if you actually have a sit down and worked out why you are in business and what you're trying to achieve. Targets for 3 years, that ties back into the numbers, and targets goals for 1 year. You'll set those as part of your one-page strategic plan, and then you'll have some sort of monitoring system with either with your accounting system software or some other reporting mechanism that you'll relay to your business partners and team on a monthly, quarterly basis. And then the one-page strategic plan will actually look at actions required for each quarter. So your one-page strategic plan is actually going to be amended each quarter, and you're going to have some goals, some key goals that is going to actually work you towards your 3-year plan. You're not going to get it all done in the first. You're not going to hit your 3-year targets in the first quarter. If you do, that'll be fantastic. But the reality is you've got to concentrate, list the critical actions required. Don't have too many of them, and make sure you get them done, implement, and get them done well. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's a classic business planning exercise, but it's still very relevant to any type of plan. You need to understand your strengths. If you understand your strengths and you list those out, then you can check that you're making the most of those strengths, that you're not leaving them behind. If you have any weaknesses, you need to obviously address those. If there are some opportunities, list the opportunities down and then work out a plan to actually take advantage of those opportunities in order to grow your business. And of course, threats. What are the threats to your business? We don't want, as far as possible, we want to minimize the risk that if we have any threats to our business, whether it be due to technology, whether it could be due to very large competitors moving into our space, then we need to be aware of those, and we need to be planning now about how we can actually thwart those off. And an exit strategy. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but usually you'll have some sort of an idea on where you're going to get to over a period of time, but you need to understand your business value, and you also need to understand what your succession plan is and how you're going to get out of the business. So I'll just, on the screen there, you will actually see that's the top half of one-page strategic plan that we use. And again, this is using a company or a guy called Vern Harnish, who has been very successful. He's actually a Canadian who has actually gone around the world interviewing the top businesses and found out the sorts of things that they have done to become successful. A lot of them, most of them are very big on one-page strategic plans and working out the key areas of those. So, we've in the previous slide I mentioned, some of the things that need to be in there. What we do, and we have done it ourselves, which is working quite well. We have actually put them down. This is an example of an engineering firm that we put together for. You'll see things like the core values and beliefs, the purpose, the targets, actions for the quarter, and a quarterly theme. Quarterly theme is purely designed to have a bit of fun with the staff and to actually get them in the mood. We change the theme each quarter. There's a number of different. It's something that you can make up. And if you have a look at the bottom half, you'll see that there are some different things like core competencies, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats down the bottom. What are our brand promises, and also what are our quarterly priorities. A BHAG, you're probably wondering what that is. That is what you ultimately want to end up being in say 20 years time. You need to have some sort of vision. Whether it's 10 years, 15 years, depending on your circumstances, but you need to be thinking about that now. You'll see there profit per client or customer. I'll just go back up here. You can actually see that there were some key measurements that we did for this client by breaking it down into average hourly rate per full-time equivalent, average hourly rate charged per client, and the number of fees. And then what we do is we'll say, well, look, if based on this example, you've currently got, say, X amount of clients, you've worked out the average spend is 12,000, and you're looking to get to about 300 by the end of 2015. So let's put down some strategies in order to make that happen, and there's a discussion about that. So this is very much an overview. It is something that we recommend that is discussed with your team. A lot of people are concerned about that. However, we're of the view that, and it's not compulsory, but we're of the view that if you want to actually achieve the plans and get to where you want to get, then if you have team buy-in, then you can actually, you're more likely to succeed. We do have a little reward section in there, so that's something that you can decide on if the team actually hits the critical numbers, whether they're green, light green, amber or red, then you can actually work out what sort of level of rewards that you would like to give, and obviously communicate to the team and then keep them on track. We hold daily 15-minute meetings called what we call a huddle, and we explain what should be discussed in these. It's meant to be just a very quick meeting. It's basically 3 areas that we spend with the team, and then we have one weekly meeting that goes for an hour, and then the principals have a monthly meeting which again has a set agenda, and it is all about keeping your plan and your strategic plan on track. And it does come back to this one-page strategic plan. We also, I suppose, at the end of the day, we make sure that everybody is understanding of what the plans are, and we change them each quarter to address the most important things in order to reach the plan at the end of the day. Typically it's not a plan that changes the overall we're trying to get. That would be very rare, but things can change each quarter, and different targets can be set in order to catch up for prior months if they're not working or whatever. So they're the sorts of things that you really should be looking at and communicating with obviously not only yourselves but with your team. So I guess the obvious question is that you might be thinking, well, how do you make this happen? Because we can all have these plans that we've sat down, worked out, and I will email you the notes, by the way, so that you can have the notes to refer to. But at the end of the day, if you are going to go through this process, you need to have a plan to make it happen, or you'll just go back to what you have been doing, perhaps, and just being too busy, too hard, and then nothing gets done. So I suppose if you want, you can actually do it do it slow if you want, and for some people that might be best for them. You can actually do it by trial and error, see how it goes. That's okay. Or you can do it with speed, and that means getting some goals set down, get your decisions made, and then taking some actions, which is all about implementation, so that you can get some results. So you need to make a decision about that. So if you felt that you needed some assistance in getting your strategic plan together, or at least started and preferably almost completed, then what we're offering, and this is only for businesses who really want to change their business, that are keen to do it, we are holding strategic planning sessions for businesses and a workshop pretty much around the country, and the dates listed there. So we've got a session here in Dubbo on the 28th of May. That should say 2013, not 2103. Brisbane on the 29th of May, Melbourne, and Sydney on the 31st of May. The sessions are there to actually allow you to prepare or discuss some of the key areas of your one-page plan, which we will give you a draft copy of so that you can fill those in. The session or the workshop will go from 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock. There'll be a break for morning and afternoon tea and lunch. We realise some people will have to travel, so we've allowed time for that. So getting there and getting home. We also realise that you may need to, obviously you cannot afford to have the 2 days off, but ultimately we are there to actually help you try and fill in some of the key areas that we've discussed today. So you might walk away from there, you mightn't have everything absolutely done and the plan complete, but you'll be well on the way, and to actually get you and show you what sort of things and how you would consider some of the things that I've discussed in the webinar today. Probably wondering about the cost. So if the cost to attend would typically for one person be $450. If you have 2 people from your firm attend, it'll be $800, $3,050 in total, and so on and so forth. But for the first 10 registrations today, and Jackie will email you the forms in case you're interested, we're offering a buy one get free to the first 10 registrations that want to take advantage of this offer. We would suggest that you bring absolutely as many possible of your team to the session or to the workshop, so that they can provide input. Not compulsory. A number of you might decide that you only want to come with your business partners. Totally understand. What we would suggest or recommend is that you consider bringing some of your key personnel to the workshop as well, so that you can get feedback and make them feel part of the business. In terms of getting team engagement, the idea is to get the one-page plan complete. I think you'll go a long way to getting that. For many of you, you won't be able to complete it on the day, but it's very much the first stepping stone. We want, obviously, the team to see your motivation. We'll explain to you what you need to do in terms of daily and weekly huddles, and obviously the planning. What are the key projects? How you will identify those. And perhaps set time for what we call about on time, so how you will actually spend time to have on time working on the business rather than in the business, how you set your themes, what sort of visual management you should have up and around the workplace so that your team can really get what you're trying to achieve, and then the accountability. Some systems there about how you'll keep everybody accountable. So you'll obviously receive some coaching, both yourself, and if you bring the team, they'll receive some coaching as well on the day. So definitely. So again, if you'd like to do that, please be one of the first 10 to register. If you'd like to get the special deal, if not, please consider attending. That's pretty much the end of the webinar. I'd like to thank you all for attending. If you have any questions, please contact us. Jackie will email you a copy of the slides, so that if you wanted to have a look at those and make some notes, or if you had any questions about the workshops we're running, or even if you had some questions about what we've discussed today, please send them through via email, and I'll do my best to give you some tips. We thank you for your attendance for today. I really hope that you've got something out of it, and we wish you well for the business and into the future. Thank you.